They laughed in my face. At my own kitchen table. That was the moment. My oldest, Mark, set down his beer and said, "You don't get it, Dad. You're too old for tech." Then came the smirks. The eye rolls. Like I was just some stubborn relic who wouldn't go quietly. They'd voted me off the board. My board. The company I built in our garage, while they were still in diapers. Said they wanted to take it in a new direction. Said I was slowing them down. Truth is, they didn't want to argue with the old man who still made sense. The worst part? They did it at Sunday dinner. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and a corporate coup. My youngest, Josh, even said, "Go enjoy retirement, Dad. You earned it." Like he was doing me a favor. I sat there, nodding, pretending not to see it coming. But inside, something shifted. I wasn't done. Not even close. And come Christmas, they'd learn just how dangerous an old man can be. I'm not a flashy guy. Never have been. My name's Tom Delaney. I wear flannel, drive a 98 F-150 that rattles in the winter, and still balance my checkbook with a pen. My wife, Lorraine, passed 6 years ago, and since then, it's just been me, my dog Duke, and a little ranch house with a sagging porch and a garage full of busted lawn equipment I never throw out. I built our family company from scratch. Literally. Started out fixing old office printers in our basement while the boys were in grade school. Mark and Josh used to hand me tools or napkins when toner exploded. We turned it into a real business, Delaney Systems. Software, support, cloud migration for local firms. You know, the unglamorous back-end stuff nobody notices until it breaks. That was our bread and butter. I ran it tight. We never missed payroll, not once. I skipped vacations, poured every cent back into it. Took out a second mortgage when we hit a rough patch in '08. And I always said, one day this will be yours. Turns out, I wasn't wrong. It is theirs now. Just not how I pictured it. The tension started small. Like a slow leak in a tire. Mark started calling me old school more often. At first, it was kind of funny. A gentle jab. Then it wasn't. "Dad, you can't keep asking clients to fax things. Nobody faxes anymore." "Well, the dang email system keeps bouncing back the files. Because you're sending PDFs scanned sideways at 800 dpi. I'd laugh it off, try to stay out of the way. But soon, I wasn't being looped into meetings. Didn't get copied on client updates. They made a new Slack channel without me in it. Josh once said, "You don't need to worry about that stuff. You should be focusing on vision." Vision? My vision was trying to keep us afloat while they played CEO cosplay with Bluetooth headsets and standing desks. I'd walk into the office and feel like I was visiting someone else's company. My name was still on the sign out front. But everything inside had changed. New logo. New slogan. New attitude. One Tuesday morning, I parked in my usual spot and found a laminated sign hanging off the pole. Reserved, CTO. Josh's new title. I walked in and said, "Since when do we need parking titles?" He looked up from his MacBook and said, "It's just more efficient, Dad." Efficient. Like I was a traffic cone. Then came the board meeting. It was in the conference room, same one we used since the carpet was green and the chairs squeaked. Mark stood at the front with a projector. Josh had charts printed out. Even Marcy from accounting was there, shifting uncomfortably. They had it all prepped. Legal phrasing. Vote tallies. Polite language about transitioning leadership. I asked, "You rehearsed this?" Nobody answered. Mark said, "We appreciate everything you've done, but it's time for the next phase." Josh added, "We think the company needs a more modern direction." Modern. That word again. I looked around. No eye contact. Except from Marcy. She looked sorry. Like she was watching a dog get put down. The vote wasn't even close. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and said, well. Guess I'll get back to mowing the lawn. Josh actually chuckled. I'll never forget that sound. Back home, I sat on the porch with Duke. He leaned against my leg like he knew something was wrong. I stared out at the mailbox. It had one of those red flags on the side. Lorraine always called it the victory flag when we got a big check. Hadn't been up in a while. I thought about what they said, too old, too slow, out of touch. I thought about every 2 a.m. server crash I stayed up to fix. Every drive in the snow to meet with clients. Every missed holiday so they could have a business to inherit. And the kicker? They didn't even offer me a retirement party. No cake. No, thanks, Dad. Just, out. And that's when I got up, walked to the garage, and flipped on the light. There was still a workbench in the back. Covered in dust. Old monitors, cords, manuals from the early days. I grabbed one of the coffee mugs with our first logo on it, Delaney Systems, EST 1998. The handle was chipped, but it still held heat. I took a sip and said out loud, let's see what this old man can still do. The thing they never tell you about being humiliated by your own kids is how quiet it is afterward. There's no yelling. No big showdown. It's just, silence. A long, echoing kind. I didn't go into the office after that board meeting. Didn't hand in keys. Didn't take down my nameplate. Just stayed away. Like they wanted. I waited. Maybe one of them would call. Say they overreacted. Invite me to lunch. Something. Nothing. The phone stayed cold. I still had a few consulting clients from back in the day. Small fish. Local shops. Folks who couldn't afford cloud migration strategies, but needed help keeping their POS machines alive. One of them, Carol from Valley Feed and Supply, called me in a panic. Tom, the new system your boys installed. It's a mess. Can you come take a look? I paused. You sure you want me? Thought the young guns were in charge now. She huffed. They sent some intern with a laptop and an attitude. Kid nearly deleted our inventory. I said I'd be there in an hour. Her system was overheating because the new install didn't take into account the building's power limits. Too much load, not enough airflow. Rookie mistake. I fixed it in 20 minutes with a fan and a firmware patch from 2016. Carol handed me a paper bag. Fresh rolls. Tell Lorraine I said hi. I smiled, then remembered. She passed. Carol looked down. I'm sorry, Tom. She was good people. She was. Next day, I drove by the office. Not to go in. Just to look. Josh was in the parking lot, leaning against a brand new electric SUV. Talking loud on the phone, throwing his arms around like he was directing a movie. I parked across the street. Watched. He didn't see me. Thanksgiving rolled around. They still invited me. Out of guilt, probably. Or PR. It was at Mark's new place. Some big box house in a subdivision with a name like Willow Creek Estates, even though there's not a single willow in sight. I brought cranberry sauce in a Tupperware Lorraine used every year. Mark's wife opened the door. Hi, Tom. Shoes off inside, please. I looked down at my work boots. They are off. She didn't laugh. Inside, it was all glass tables and furniture you can't sit on. The boys were in the living room, talking stocks and server loads like they were running Google. Josh had a new watch on. One of those ones that talks to you. I said, That thing make coffee too? He looked up, smirked. Nah, but it tracks my sleep and my focus intervals. Well, I said, might want to tell it you've got your head up your ass. The room went dead quiet. Josh laughed, kind of forced. Classic dad. Mark cleared his throat. Anyway. Let's eat. At dinner, I tried to keep the peace. Passed the rolls. Nodded along to conversation I wasn't part of. Then Mark stood up, raised a glass. To new beginnings, he said. And to a record-breaking quarter. First one without the old man at the helm. They clinked glasses. Even the grandkids. I set my fork down. Slowly. Funny, I said. Back when I ran the place, we didn't toast to leaving family behind. Mark gave me a look. Dad, don't make this awkward. Already is, I said. But sure. Let's pretend. Josh wiped his mouth with a napkin. You could have retired with grace, you know. Traveled. Played golf. I stared at him. And you could have had some damn respect. But I guess we're both disappointing. I left before dessert. Drove home with the windows down. Cold air helped clear my head. Duke was waiting at the door. Tail wagging like nothing was wrong with the world. I poured myself a drink. Sat on the porch. Looked at the mailbox again. Still empty. Still no flag. Then, the next morning, something snapped. I pulled out the old laptop Lorraine bought me in 2015. It was slow, the screen had a crack, and the keyboard smelled faintly like hot dogs. Long story. But it still worked. I opened a new document. Title, Delaney Revival, Business Plan Draft. I started calling up old friends. Old clients. People the boys had ignored, overcharged, or replaced with automated bots. How's the new team treating you? I'd ask. Some didn't recognize my voice. Some did, and swore out loud when they heard it. Tom. You still kicking? Barely, I'd say. But I got one more good punch in me. They laughed. But they listened. And then, one of them said, if you're starting something new. I'm in. I stared at the phone. In. I said. Yeah. Hell with your boys. I always liked you. That was it. One word. In. And suddenly, the silence was gone. It started with a folder. One plain manila folder, half crumpled, left on my porch in the rain. Inside. A letter from the company accountant, Marcy. Old school. Loyal. Honest to a fault. She tried calling, but I'd missed it. Her note was short. Tom, I thought you should see this. I can't keep pretending. Inside was a printed email thread between my sons and a consulting firm. Subject line. Finalizing the transition, removing Tom's signature from all legacy contracts. I sat there in my kitchen, dripping folder in one hand, coffee in the other, rereading those words like they were in another language. Not Dad. Not founder. Just Tom. Like I was a liability they were trying to scrub out of the company's DNA. It all clicked. The way clients stopped calling me. The cold greetings at Thanksgiving. Even the parking space. They weren't just easing me out. They were erasing me. I wasn't supposed to retire. I was supposed to disappear. And just like that, my stomach turned. Not because I was hurt. But because I'd underestimated just how gutless they were. I called Josh. No greeting. Just, hey Dad, can we talk later? I'm in a pitch. No, I said. We're talking now. He sighed. Okay, shoot. I saw the emails. From Marcy. You trying to bury my name in the paperwork now? He paused. Long enough for the silence to say everything. Then, it's not personal, Dad. It's just cleaner this way. Investors don't like confusion about leadership. I laughed. But it didn't sound right. Confusion? You mean history? You mean the guy who started the damn thing? Look, he said, we're trying to modernize. People want stories about innovation. Not legacy. Legacy built your house, I snapped. Legacy paid for your startup, focus watch, and your ergonomic beanbag chairs. Dad. I hung up. 3 hours later, Mark showed up in my driveway. Black Tesla. Designer jacket. Looked like a politician trying to act casual. I was chopping wood out back. Not because I needed firewood. Just needed to hit something that wouldn't bleed. He waved. I didn't wave back. Dad, he said, can we talk? Sure, I said. Words are free. For now. He sighed. You're angry. I get that. Anger's not the word, I said. Try disappointed. Try disgusted. Try tired. He shoved his hands in his pockets. We didn't mean to blindside you. Then why do it with lawyers and emails? He looked down. Because you wouldn't have stepped aside willingly. You're damn right I wouldn't. Because I still had work to do. It's not about work, he said. It's about image. Optics. The board thinks. Oh, the board. You mean Josh and your wife and that guy from LinkedIn who sells NFTs? Dad, stop. Just, stop. You're making this harder than it has to be. I leaned on the axe. You know what Lorraine used to say? Character is who you are when no one's watching. Guess she didn't raise you quite as well as she thought. He flinched. Good. Look, he said, you've got options. You can cash out quietly. Take a nice buyout. Move to Florida. Be done. I laughed again. Florida. I've got 10 acres, a truck, and a damn good memory. That's all I need. He started to say something, then stopped. Got back in his Tesla and drove away. Didn't even say goodbye. That night, I stared at the ceiling fan. Watched it spin. Watched Duke twitch in his sleep. I kept hearing that phrase over and over. It's not personal, Dad. Of course it was personal. That's what made it hurt. This wasn't just a business to me. It was us. Saturday mornings in the garage with Josh curled up under the desk playing with toy soldiers. Mark helping me label cables with masking tape. And now? Now I was just an inconvenient footnote in a startup pitch deck. But here's the thing about old dogs. We don't forget where the bones are buried. Next morning, I made calls. Dozens. Some old vendors. Some clients. Some engineers I mentored back in the day. A few competitors who owed me favors or grudging respect. Tom Delaney here, I'd say. No, not dead yet. They laughed. Then they listened. And by lunch, I had 3 meetings on the books. 2 more by dinner. And 1 message from an ex-client that made my jaw drop. They doubled our rates. Killed support. We're looking to switch. You free this week? I called Josh again. He didn't answer. So I left a voicemail. Hey, just wanted to thank you. For the push. I didn't realize how much fight I had left. Click. The next week, I drove to Dallas for a face-to-face with one of our oldest clients. Big fish. Major account. My sons had taken them for granted. The CFO leaned in and said, "You're really doing this? At your age?" I smiled. I'm not starting over. I'm starting better. By the time I got home, my mailbox flag was up. First time in years. Inside. A signed contract. 6 figures. Delaney Revival was no longer just a file on my laptop. It was real. I found out from a Facebook post. Not a call. Not a text. Just a picture. Josh standing on a stage, all smiles, holding a stupid oversized check like he just won the damn lottery. Proud to announce our $28 million Series B raise, the caption read. To the future of Delaney Systems, without the past holding us back. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. There were balloons behind him. A crowd clapping. Flashbulbs going off. And that line. Without the past holding us back. That was me. I was the past. The worst part. They used my pitch. Every phrase, every talking point I'd written back when we were still a team. Stuff I'd workshopped in motel lobbies, client waiting rooms, anywhere I could write between meetings. I recognized it line for line. Only now it was coming out of Josh's mouth, dressed up in startup jargon, while he smiled like he invented fire. That pitch built the foundation for our biggest clients. And now he was waving it around like a flag while pretending I never existed. I closed the laptop. Got up. Went out to the garage. Just stood there, staring at the wall of old tools. Everything looked small. Pointless. There was still a scuff mark on the floor from when Josh dropped a server tower in 2011. I never painted over it. I thought we'd laugh about it one day. Now I just wanted to scrub it off the planet. That night, I didn't eat. Didn't sleep. I just sat at the kitchen table, lights off, drinking from a chipped mug with our old logo on it. The house was dead quiet. You could hear Duke snoring in the other room. And then I heard the doorbell. I didn't move. Then a knock. Sharp. Familiar. I opened it. Mark stood there. Again. Only this time, he wasn't alone. He brought a lawyer. Evening, Dad, he said, like he was showing up for poker night. What now? I asked. The lawyer cleared his throat. We'd like to talk about your use of the Delaney Systems name. I stared at him. Then looked at Mark. You're kidding. He shook his head. We have investors now. Big ones. They're worried about brand confusion. I am the brand. You were, he said. I stepped outside, shut the door behind me so Duke wouldn't come out. You already kicked me out, I said. Now you're coming after my name. It's just business. I leaned in close. No, Mark. It's personal. You made damn sure of that. The lawyer tried to step in, but I cut him off. You send me a letter next time, I said. You don't come to my porch again. Mark looked down. Maybe for a second he remembered what it felt like to be my son. Then he said it. You can't win this, Dad. You're too late. He walked off. Didn't look back. I stood in the driveway long after their car was gone. My hands were shaking. But not from fear. It was rage. Pure, clean, ice-cold rage. I looked up at the stars. Lorraine used to say they looked different in winter. Sharper. Meaner. She was right. That night, I burned everything with the Delaney Systems logo on it. Old shirts. Old binders. Old business cards. Tossed it all into a metal drum and lit the match. Flames shot up fast. Bright and angry. It felt like watching a funeral. One I didn't get invited to. But once the smoke cleared, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Focus. The next day, I filed a new trademark. Red Iron Technologies. Simple. Sharp. No legacy strings attached. I bought a domain, hired a lawyer of my own, and made a call to the CFO from one of our top clients. Still hate their new rates? I asked. You have no idea, she said. Good, I said. Because I've got a better option now. I got a call that afternoon from Marcy. They froze your retirement fund, she said. Claimed a contract discrepancy from 2003. I didn't speak. She whispered, I'm so sorry, Tom. I cleared my throat. It's okay, Marcy. I don't need their money. But I'm taking something else. That evening, I pulled out a map. Marked down every Delaney Systems client who'd ever sent me a Christmas card. Everyone who called me when their server went down. Everyone who knew my name, not just the company's. And I started driving. Town to town. Office to office. Handshakes. Black coffee. Face-to-face talks. No flashy slides. No fundraising pitches. Just me. The guy who showed up when no one else would. 3 days in, I sat in a Walmart parking lot eating a rotisserie chicken with my hands. It was raining. My phone buzzed. It was a message from one of our top clients. One of the biggest. Let's talk. I've been watching what they did to you. I'm not impressed. I leaned back in the seat. Closed my eyes. Smiled. Not because I was happy. But because I knew what was coming next. You want to beat a man, you fight him head on. You want to beat a system. You fight quiet. I'd spent months being angry. Now I was busy. First step. Keep my mouth shut. No posts. No press. No gloating calls. Let the boys think I was licking my wounds somewhere, nursing pride with warm beer and old reruns. Let them think I was done. But I was moving. Quiet, slow, deliberate. I rented a corner office in an old strip mall next to a tax prep place and a nail salon. The carpet smelled like wet socks and broken dreams. Perfect. I set up a folding table, a coffee maker, and my laptop. Hung a red iron sign in the window. Black text, red background. Sharp. Honest. Mine. Then I got to work. Remember Carol from Valley Feed? She referred me to 3 more local businesses. One owned by her brother. One by her neighbor. One who used to be a Delaney Systems client until Josh got too big for customer service. Each meeting was the same. Wait, you're the Tom Delaney? Yep. They said you retired. Guess I forgot. I showed them my plan. My tech. My pricing. They all signed. Not because it was cheap. Because it was real. Because I gave a damn, and they remembered what that looked like. I built my team slow. Called up Dana, an engineer I trained back when she was fresh out of community college. She was working some soulless job managing printers for a hospital. Want to build something again? I asked. Only if it means I can tell Josh to shove it one day. You'll get your shot, I said. I found Ben, my old network guy. Retired early, fishing 3 days a week. You're not gonna pay much, are you? Nope. He laughed. Good. I hate money. When do we start? We worked nights. Weekends. At the diner. At my house. Sometimes out of the back of my truck. And the best part? We weren't just catching clients. We were poaching Delaney's clients. Quietly. One by one. People they overcharged. Ignored. Bounced to automated systems. You don't make $1 billion company by caring. But you do lose one that way. I kept every signed contract in a shoebox. Lorraine used to keep birthday cards in there. Now it held the beginning of something new. And I still checked the mailbox every morning. Victory flag up more and more lately. Then came the investor call. It was an accident. Josh's assistant sent the calendar invite to my old email by mistake. I clicked. Joined on mute. Just a name on a black screen. They didn't notice. Josh was pitching a new product. Mark was backing him up. But something was off. The investors weren't smiling. One of them said, "We've had reports of client churn in the mid-market segment. Can you explain that?" Mark fumbled. Josh blamed market conditions. I smiled so hard I nearly bit my lip. They didn't know. Not yet. But the leak was spreading. Back in the office, Dana looked up from her screen. "We just got another one," she said. "One of their top-tier clients. Said she's done waiting for callbacks." I nodded. "Put her on the board," I said. She reached for the whiteboard behind her. Wrote the name in big letters. We were going to need a bigger board. Then I got the email. Subject line. Cease and desist, trademark violation. From Delaney Systems Legal. I didn't even read it. Just printed it out and tacked it to the wall like a trophy. Next day, Mark called. I let it ring 5 times before picking up. "Dad. We need to talk." Funny. Thought I was too outdated to talk to. He exhaled. "Listen. We know you've been contacting our clients. They're not your clients if they don't want to stay. You're undercutting us." "No, I'm outservicing you. There's a difference." Silence. Then, this could get ugly. Already is. I hung up. That night, I went to Lorraine's grave. Brought coffee and sat on the little bench we'd put there years ago. "Boys are making a mess," I said. "But I'm cleaning it up." I looked up at the stars. Wish you were here to see it. Wind rustled the trees. Felt like a nod. I drove home slow. Stopped at a red light just outside town. Pickup idling. Windows down. Radio low. And suddenly I laughed. Because I realized something. They thought I was out for revenge. But I wasn't. I was out for redemption. And maybe, just maybe, that was worse. The trap was set. They just hadn't stepped in it yet. Red iron was growing. Fast. Too fast for them not to notice. But I kept it quiet. No press, no LinkedIn updates, no startup fanfare. I didn't want attention. I wanted surprise. Josh and Mark still thought I was some bitter old man playing with scraps. What they didn't know. I had 22 of their former clients under contract. I had 5 of their engineers moonlighting for me after hours. And I'd just signed a partnership with a payment platform they'd been chasing for months. "Why'd you go with us?" I asked the rep, she said, "because you didn't treat us like a line item. You showed up. Simple. But that was the whole game. I got sloppy once. Almost gave it away. Ran into Mark at Home Depot. He was in the paint aisle, yelling at his phone. I was grabbing screws. Tried to duck behind a shelf. Too late. "Dad," he said. I turned. "Mark." He looked me up and down. I was in an old hoodie, grease on my hands. "You working construction now?" he smirked. "Nope. Building something else." He narrowed his eyes. "What?" I smiled. "You'll see." Back at the office, Dana had news. They're doing a product launch in December. Press event, investor showcase, the works. "Where?" I asked. "Downtown Hyatt. Big ballroom." I nodded. Then I pulled out the client list. "Let's invite a few old friends." We booked a conference room on the floor above theirs. Same day. Same time. Called it the Red Iron Winter Demo. Sent invites to every company we knew had been burned by Delaney systems. Free lunch, live demo, real humans who answer the phone. We didn't have the budget for a full-blown spectacle. But we had something better. Substance. Week before the event, I got a call from a reporter. Local tech paper. Nothing huge. She said, "Is it true you're starting a competitor to your sons?" "Nope," I said. "I'm building what we should have built all along." She asked for a quote. I gave her one. "Sometimes the future needs a little old school grit." She liked that. So did the internet. The article dropped 2 days before the event. Headline. Out of retirement, not out of fight, Tom Delaney's second act. It made the rounds. Fast. And just like that, the boys knew. Josh called. Voice tight. "What the hell is this? You read it?" I said. "Good writing. You're launching during our event. Didn't know you owned the calendar. You think this is funny?" "No," I said. "But it is fair. You're going to embarrass yourself." "We'll see." "You're petty, Dad." "No. I'm precise." Click. Morning of the launch, I woke up before the sun. Suited up. Not flashy. Navy blazer. Lorraine's favorite. Duke followed me to the door, tail wagging like he wanted to come too. "Hold down the fort," I said. Got in the truck. Headed downtown. Hyatt was buzzing. PR teams, banners, overpriced lattes. I walked in through the back. Up to the second floor. Our room was simple. Fold-out chairs, coffee, a screen, no fluff. But it was full. People were standing in the back. One old client even brought a notebook. Said, "Figured if Delaney's back, it's worth taking notes again." Downstairs, Josh was giving his opening speech. I knew because one of the AV guys texted me. He looks nervous. Keeps glancing at the ceiling. I smiled. Took the mic, looked around the room. Some of you know me. Some don't. I'm Tom. I used to build systems for your businesses. Then I got replaced by a PowerPoint deck. They laughed. A little too hard. I told them about Red Iron. What we do. How we do it. And I ended with this. We're not here to disrupt. We're here to deliver. Same handshake. Same name. Just a little more grit. They stood. Clapped. Not for the speech. For the memory of what used to work. After the event, one of the Delaney investors walked in. I recognized him. Sleek suit. Shark smile. "You're Tom." Last I checked. He looked around the room. This was smart. I know. You could have sold. Walked away. I did walk away. From the wrong people. He nodded, slow. Then he said, "If you're raising." I'm not. I'd like to be first in line. I looked him dead in the eye. You were already in line once. You backed the wrong horse. That night, I stopped by the old office. Not to go in. Just to look. The lights were on. But half the parking lot was empty. I stood there a minute. Thought about all the time I gave that place. Then I turned. Drove home. Mailbox flag was up again. Inside was another contract. Big one. Fortune 500 logo in the header. I laughed. Out loud. Right there in the driveway. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I felt ready. Mark found out first. I know because he called me at 7:16 a.m., voice high and tight like a kid who just realized the stove is hot. What the hell are you doing, Dad? I was sitting on the porch, sipping black coffee out of that Chip Delaney Systems mug I never threw out. Morning to you too. He didn't laugh. You just took the Simmons contract. That's one of our biggest. It was one of yours, I said. Now it's one of mine. You undercut us. No, I said. I outserviced you. Again. Click. 5 minutes later, Dana forwarded an internal memo from Delaney Systems. Subject, urgent, client retention strategy. It was chaos. Emergency meetings. Scramble calls. PR talking points. They didn't know how deep the hole was yet. But they were about to find out. I waited one day. Let the Simmons contract sink in. Let them sweat. Then I dropped the hammer. I sent personalized emails to 28 of their priority accounts. Simple, polite, no pitch decks. Just a message. I'm back. If you need better support, I'll pick up on the first ring. No bots. No tickets. Just me. 22 replied. 12 signed within the week. Josh showed up at my office 3 days later. Didn't call. Didn't knock. Just barged in like he still owned the air around him. You're sabotaging us. No, I said. You did that to yourselves. I'm just cleaning up the mess. You want to ruin your own sons. I stood up. Walked around the desk. Got real close. You ruined yourselves the day you thought legacy was a liability. He stared at me. Didn't blink. You're playing dirty, he said. I held up the memo Dana forwarded. This you? I asked. The one where you wrote, and I quote, "We need to kill off his brand before it metastasizes." He paled. Yeah, I said. I've been reading all your internal stuff for months. You hacked us. No, I said. People talk. When you treat everyone like trash, they start taking out the garbage. He stood there, fists clenched. You think this makes you the hero? No, I said. Heroes fix things. I'm past fixing. That week, Red Iron launched a tool they'd been teasing for months. Only ours worked. Ours was clean. Fast. Didn't need a consultant just to log in. We gave it away for free for 90 days. Clients flooded in. Delaney Systems scrambled to copy it. But they couldn't move that fast. Their team was bloated. Tired. Distracted. The media noticed. Can the comeback kid of enterprise IT take back the crown? One journalist wrote, Delaney's sons bet on the cloud. Their father brought the thunder. Then came Christmas week. Mark sent a message. Let's meet. No lawyers. I said yes. We met at the same diner where I signed my first client in '98. I wore flannel. He wore guilt. Why now? I asked. He looked tired. Really tired. We're bleeding, he said. 3 more big ones left. I stirred my coffee. And? We're offering you a seat back on the board. Strategic role. Figurehead. Clean exit. Public unity. I nodded slowly. Then I said. No. He blinked. No. I already got my clean exit, I said. It was the day you fired me. You're being emotional. No, I said. I'm being finished. I stood up. Tossed a 20 on the table. You boys always wanted to run the show, I said. Now you are. Enjoy the curtain call. That night, my lawyer filed intent to acquire their largest client outright. I'd been negotiating behind the scenes for weeks. And once that domino fell, everything else came loose. 2 days later, their CFO quit. Then 2 engineers. Then their entire customer service team. Red Iron scooped them up before the ink was dry. On Christmas Eve, I sent Mark and Josh a single package. Inside was that old Delaney Systems mug. Same chip on the handle. Same faded logo. No note. Just the mug. Let M sit with it. Let M remember. Christmas Day. We always had dinner at my place, even after Lorraine passed. Tradition. Whether they deserved it or not. They showed up late. No gifts. No pie. Just silence. Mark picked at the ham. Josh stared into his mashed potatoes like they held the secrets of the universe. No one said much. Then I reached under the table. Pulled out a folded newspaper. Dropped it next to the gravy boat. Josh picked it up. Read the headline. Old Man of the Year, Tom Delaney's comeback leaves tech sons in the dust. They both froze. I leaned back. Took a sip of sweet tea. Still beating you, I said. They didn't finish dinner. Left the table full. Chairs pushed back. No goodbye. Just like when they pushed me out. Duke wandered in. Sniffed the ham. I set him up with a plate. He ate like a king. And me? I sat back, let the quiet settle, and stared at that empty chair where Lorraine used to sit. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I felt right. You ever hear a machine die? Not all at once. First, it stutters. Then it groans. Then, silence. That's what Delaney Systems sounded like by mid-January. The phone calls weren't coming in. They were going out. Frantic. Desperate. Trying to keep the ship afloat while the ocean climbed over the deck. First thing I did. Took their last anchor client. Keller Freight. National contract. 300 users. Delaney had them locked in, until they didn't. All I had to say was, remember when your help desk tickets took 2 days? Mine takes 2 minutes. Keller signed. We onboard them in 36 hours. That wasn't a deal. That was a decapitation. Josh called that night. I didn't answer. He texted. This isn't funny anymore. I replied. I'm not laughing. Next morning, I opened my inbox to find a message from their board advisor. Big shot VC guy. Clean suit. Empty soul. Subject. Urgent proposal, let's talk buyout. The email was full of buzzwords. Synergy. Unity. Historic opportunity to rebuild together. You know what I saw? Begging. They wanted me to buy them out. The same people who laughed at me. Erased me. Filed legal threats to stop me. Now. They were offering a seat at the table, if I brought the food. I brought something else. An offer to their clients. 50% off migration fees. 3 months premium service. Lifetime support from a real human being. It was like opening the floodgates. By the end of the week, 12 more companies jumped. 3 vendors pulled out of contracts. 2 partner firms flipped to Red Iron. And their entire legal department. Gone. My old paralegal hired them all. I didn't even ask. Mark showed up at my house again. No jacket. Just a hoodie and that broken look in his eyes. The same look you get when your engine blows out on the highway and all you can do is coast. You win, he said. I didn't answer. He stepped closer. I mean it. You won. What more do you want? I looked at him. Really looked. And I saw it. He wasn't mad anymore. He was scared. I said, I didn't do this to win. I did it so you'd never forget who built your kingdom. His lip twitched. We were kids, Dad. You were grown men when you threw me out. Mark looked down. His voice cracked. We thought you'd slow us down. You slowed yourself down. All I ever did was build. Meanwhile, Josh was on damage control. Trying to stop the bleeding with duct tape and denial. He did a podcast interview. Tried to spin it. Said, we've always respected our father. This is a misunderstanding. I listened to it in the truck. On the way to meet Keller's CTO for lunch. The host asked, so why did you push him out? Josh stuttered. Then. It was complicated. No. It wasn't. It was simple. They thought I was old. And they were wrong. Next day, I walked into the bank. Sat down with a business banker who'd known me since the fax machine era. I said, I want to make an offer. To whom? He asked. I slid a folder across the desk. Delaney Systems. He blinked. You're buying them? No, I said. I'm ending them. The offer was clean. Fair. Ruthless. I'd take the assets. The remaining contracts. The brand name, if they wanted to bury it. In return, they'd walk. Quietly. No lawsuits. No PR spin. No more pretending they were in control. 3 days. That's how long it took for their board to cave. They scheduled an emergency meeting. I didn't attend. I sent Dana. She used to take notes in my meetings 10 years ago. Now. She wore the CEO badge. She told them one thing. Red Iron isn't hiring. But we're absorbing. Mark called one last time. You really want to do this? It's already done. I'll lose everything. I paused. No, I said. You'll lose everything you didn't earn. Silence. Then he whispered, we were supposed to carry the name forward. You dropped it, I said. I just picked it back up. Josh didn't call. He sent a one-line email. Congratulations. You got what you wanted. I didn't reply. Because he still didn't get it. I didn't want a crown. I wanted respect. And they handed me both when they failed to hold what I built. That night, I drove to the old Delaney office. They'd already cleared out. Dusty chairs. Empty desks. A logo peeled halfway off the front window. I walked inside. It smelled like drywall and regret. In the back, the whiteboard still had a faded goal written on it. $100 MARR by 2025. I grabbed a marker. Crossed it out. Wrote. Built by a man who never needed a title. As I walked out, the cleaning crew nodded to me. You own this place now, one of them asked. I smiled. I always did. Christmas came and went. No cards. No calls. The tree stayed up until New Year's. I didn't decorate it, just plugged in the old lights Lorraine used to like. The ones that blink too fast and make the living room look like a gas station window. It was quiet. Not lonely. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you earn. Mark moved to Arizona. Said something about starting fresh. He emailed a few times. Mostly about logistics. Taxes. Paperwork. Never said sorry. Never said thank you. Just. Let me know when you want to talk. I never hit send. Josh stuck around. I heard he tried to start something new. Didn't take. Hard to build trust when everyone remembers how quick you are to shove family out the door. Last I saw him was at the post office. He avoided eye contact. Until I walked right up. "Dad," he said. I waited. He opened his mouth. Then closed it. Then finally, quietly. "You really had to take it all?" I looked him dead in the eye. "You started it. The Red Iron office runs smooth now. Dana's in charge. Ben keeps the place humming. Me? I come in twice a week. Make coffee. Fix what's broken. Tell stories no one asked for. Sometimes I answer the phones, just to remind myself what real service sounds like. The mug's still there. Old one. Faded logo. Chip on the handle. I keep it on the desk in the back, next to Lorraine's photo. Every morning I sit down, pour my coffee, and stare at that red flag on the mailbox through the window. Some days it's up. Some days it's not. Doesn't matter now. I already won. Last week, I hosted Christmas dinner. Just a few folks. Old clients. Duke under the table. Ham in the oven. At the head of the table sat an empty chair. No one asked who it was for. They all knew. As the plates cleared, someone raised a glass and said, "To Tom. The old man who doesn't quit." I just smiled. Lifted the chipped mug. And said, "Too old to understand tech, huh?"